Hey everybody, this is Donnie with Standing Goats Rescue. I'm at one of the areas where Chris and I hunt. Just got a couple of articles that I want to share with you guys pertaining to the big fellas. I'm going to go down here and find somewhere that's nice and pretty and get set up, get the tripod stood up. That's the reason there's so many pigs out here. There's so much water. I got the creek and then swamp. You can see right there where they've rooted the ground up a little bit. This is an access road that I'm on to where the management people can come down here and maintain the land, cut the trees when need be. Down here the creek turns and there's a low area, swampy area that sticks out quite a ways. I'm hoping it's not flooded. It's really pretty. But we may end up seeing some deer or some pigs. This video is not going to be long. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to upload it. My phone is just going AWOL. I've lost function of several more of the apps that are on it. That is so pretty right there. So I don't know what's going on with it. My phones don't last long. Yesterday afternoon, I talked to a man. I seen he had a Verizon shirt on. It was a young guy. And I was telling him what's been happening with my phones are dying all the time. And he said that some people's body puts off something that affects the phones. And I've just hearing so many people tell me that, and I do believe it. I've had too many weird experiences with electronics. But he said the same thing that I heard about 2 weeks ago. He said people that have problems with the electronics, that their phones get affected by whatever their body's doing, they change over to iPhone. iPhone's made differently, and well, I'm going to try to do an insurance claim. I know I can do it, but I do not want them to give me the same phone again. This is the third one in 6 or 7 months. So I'm going to see if they'll let me do the insurance claim, and instead of getting this same phone again, get the iPhone, because they're the same price. We weren't able to go down there today. The weather's been bad, and we had to make sure that the babies were going to be dry when the bad weather hit. Look how pretty that is. So beautiful. Just trying to find a nice backdrop. I love it here. I mean, I love it. There's mosquitoes out, so I did not bring bug spray. Well, guys, give me just a second. Let me get this. I'm carrying a tripod, and I got the camera mounted on the tripod. So give me just a minute. Let me get set up, and we'll carry on. I'm going to show you guys the Look at the game tracks in here. That's a game trail, and it runs all the way down just inside from the river. I just heard two very loud bangs, like, I don't know if it's a big limb falling from a tree and hitting another limb, or if it was somebody hitting a tree. But it came from across the river there. So I think I'm going to set up right here. I'm going to set up right on the game trail. It's going to be a little noisy. Let me get the... Did y'all hear it? I don't know if you heard how loud that was. That was another one. There's something over there. Here, I'm going to set it right here. I'm trying to find a spot for you guys to be able to see back behind me. Whatever's making that sound. I don't see nothing out there. There's someone right out there in the middle. I'm just trying to find a good location to put the camera. Give me just a few minutes. Those bangs are really, really loud. Let's try this out. I'm going to walk over there where I can read this to you. That way you guys can see back behind me. I'm going to go right in here at the other side of this palmetto bush. I think that'll be good. Just keep your eye out in the background. Alright, I hope you guys can see me alright. I'm kind of down in a hole here. Let me come up. I cannot see the screen. I think I'm okay. But I keep hearing the bangs back there. Just keep an eye on it back there if you would. I want to read these are articles that were written. I pulled out my wire from my microphone. I'm sorry. I'm using a wireless mic, and they were hung up on my glasses. I'm getting old and I can't read without them. Can't hardly see without them. Let's see. Okay. Okay, this is the first one. And it was by MWFDailyNews.com. It's an older article, July 31st, 2018. And this is from the Panhandle area of Florida. The scientific community resoundingly denies the existence of Bigfoot, but that doesn't stop some area residents from believing. In Crestview, on March 12, 2002, just past 2 o'clock in the morning, two women were traveling from Destin from Panama City on U.S. Highway 98 when their car broke down. They began to walk down U.S. 98 toward Destin to get help when all of a sudden they heard a very loud noise like a scream mixed with loud moaning. The next thing they knew, they were staring into the eyes of a Bigfoot. It just stood there and stared at us, the woman recounted in an entry on the Gulf Coast Bigfoot Research Organization website. It was approximately 7 feet tall, very muscular, and covered in what appeared to be brown or black hair. As cars began approaching, the creature hastily walked back into the woods and disappeared. The women's encounter is one of many that's been documented as a verified Bigfoot encounter by self-proclaimed Sasquatch researchers who spend hours personally combing through and verifying Bigfoot accounts that are reported all across the world. Mick Minnis lives in Crestview and is a certified Bigfoot believer. He owns a moving company called, fittingly, Bigfoot Moving Company, and in his spare time volunteers as a researcher for the BFRO. He said he's personally interviewed dozens of people in Northwest Florida who say they've had encounters with Sasquatch. We'll contact the individual and try to set up a time and place to see if their report is legitimate. I've interviewed soldiers, law enforcement officers, men, women, and everyday people. To determine the legitimacy of a Sasquatch encounter, Minnis looks at things like the witness's credibility, how fresh the incident is in the person's mind, because some people don't come forward for months or even years for fear of ridicule, if they even come forward at all, and whether or not an animal, human, or other event could explain the witness's encounter. Our goal at the BFRO is to get scientific evidence to prove that Bigfoot exists, Minnis said, and then to protect the species. There are some organizations out there that believe they need to kill something to prove it, but I am absolutely no kill. According to the BFRO, Florida is the state with the third highest number of Bigfoot sightings in the continental United States, with 323 total confirmed sightings. It trails California with 437 and Washington State with 653. In Northwest Florida, between Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties, there have been 16 reported Bigfoot sightings since the early 80s, according to the Gulf Coast BFRO and the National BFRO. The accounts range from a kayaker on the Yellow River who suspected a Bigfoot was throwing rocks at him in the swamp to a group of people who fled in all directions after encountering a large humanoid form. And this is a statement from one of the witnesses. Me and my brother were driving south on Highway 85 about 7 miles south of Crestview at 1:30 in the morning when we spotted what at first we thought was a really big black bear on the side of the road. One of the entries, dated March 2013, reads, "When we looked, we saw a large, upright walking, like a human, black Bigfoot type of creature." Almost all of the encounters have a few key characteristics in common. The witness was in the woods or in a swampy rural area. The encounter happened at night, and the witness smelled or heard Bigfoot before they saw him. In one entry dated January 2001, a witness in Milton, Florida, said he was chopping wood outside his home when he heard a weird, loud growl scream sound. "It was on and off for a few hours," the man wrote. "I have never heard anything like it. I had goosebumps all over, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was totally freaking out." Another witness, who was deer hunting in the northern Walton County in 1995, said the only way he could describe the noise he heard was like a two-cycle engine or chainsaw. The man who was kayaking on the Yellow River when he encountered Bigfoot throwing rocks at him wrote that he first heard sticks breaking and he smelled a very musky, wet dog smell. I thought that was a gator coming out of the water. That scared me. They're starting to come out now, and the water's right there. I'm very close to the edge. I thought it's got to be a redneck or something, so I yelled out, "Hello, what are you doing?" The man wrote on the BFRO website, "No sounds, not even birds." Then another rock about the size of my head almost hit my kayak. The river trip was 25 miles long, and it sounded like I was followed the whole way. Mike Spates, spokesman for the Jackson Guard, denied any Bigfoot activity on Eglin Air Force Base, where many of the entries on the BFRO and the GCBRO websites say they've seen the creature. Eglin has not had any reported sightings of Bigfoot on our property, Spates said. And Becca Nelson, spokeswoman for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, said the agency had no official record of Bigfoot sightings in the Northwest region. I'm sorry, a call just came through. I forgot to turn on my airplane mode. Doggone it. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start that part over. And Becca Nelson, spokeswoman for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, said the agency had no official record of Bigfoot sightings in the Northwest region, which is Escambia through Jefferson counties. If we had received any reports, they would be documented in our database, Nelson said in an email to the Daily News. Based on witness narratives, Bigfoot researchers have pieced together what they think a Sasquatch looks, smells, and sounds like. It's 7 to 9 feet tall, weighs between 400 and 500 pounds, and has obviously massive feet. The color of its fur varies from purely black to reddish brown to a whitish gray. It also has a very pungent odor and emits a piercing ape-like scream. And has long arms and a unique type of stride that's very hard for humans to duplicate, Menace said. These are the descriptions of this BFRO guy. He's the one that's saying this, the overall description of him, and I disagree with that. Then he says, we don't have the anatomical ability to have their exact gait. But it's impossible to know exactly what a Bigfoot looks like because it's never been proven to exist in the first place. Despite decades of stories, eyewitness accounts, and even a few blurry pictures and sketchy videos, no one has ever been able to capture a Bigfoot and prove its existence once and for all. Hair samples have been analyzed, footprints have been measured, and seemingly hard pieces of evidence pointing to the existence of Bigfoot have been resoundingly debunked by the scientific community. Menace admits he's never seen a Bigfoot, but has heard vocalizations during a Bigfoot hunting expedition in the North Florida woods several years ago. His wife Tracy said she saw a Bigfoot in a clearing in the woods on the side of Interstate 7 during a trip to Sarasota years ago. But despite never having seen one, the Menaces still believe. I believe instinctively that there are Bigfoots, he said. I think there's just so much land and there are so many woods and mountains that are still unexplored. Almost on a daily basis, we're still finding animals that have been undiscovered, his wife Tracy added. Menace said the lack of acknowledgement from the scientific community acts as a deterrent to people who believe they've had a Bigfoot encounter. Many witnesses are hunters, fishermen, or outdoorsmen, and women who fear speaking out about their experiences will invite ridicule and shame. Only about 25% of people who have a Bigfoot sighting ever come forward, Menace said. People have been ostracized, ridiculed, and had their jobs and relationships threatened. It's a tough thing to do. But he hopes eventually more people will come forward and loosen the stigma around being a Bigfoot believer. Eventually, he hopes people can come together to prove the so far mythical creature's existence once and for all. When I see the reaction of people who've had encounters, I look at more than what they say. I look at how they feel, he said, and the way they talk. It's like it's turned their world upside down. Most of them didn't believe Bigfoot exists, he added. But now, they don't know what to think. All right, that's the first article I just want to read to you guys. It was interesting, but The overall description of what he was saying, 400 to 500 pounds, 7 to 9 feet tall, overly huge feet. What I've seen, they are big, but I think there's a gator right there. I'm just gonna keep my eyes on it. I'm sorry, but what I've seen, if you understand the anatomy of like a wild pig, they're a dense animal. I do not know anything about bears other than they're very scary to me. But a pig that's the same physical height and length of a 100-pound dog, that pig will weigh closer to 200 pounds. They're just extremely dense. Their mass to bone ratio, where a dog is 3 to 1, the pig is probably 5 to 1. 5 pounds of mass to every 1 pound of bone. And I think these creatures, these Sasquatch creatures, I think that would apply to them. An 8-foot tall man is going to weigh 400 to 500 pounds. There's no man on this planet that would have the comparable strength of a Bigfoot his same size. A 6-foot Bigfoot and a 6-foot man, I think the Bigfoot's going to outweigh him by probably 150 to 200 pounds. That's my opinion. I don't have any facts to back it up. But understanding the wildlife and how animals are, I just don't understand how it couldn't be that way. And their feet being big, everyone that I've seen, which I've seen several, the feet fit the body. They're not enormous, they're not too big for them, they look right. Just like most of humans, most of our feet look right.